Nioh 3 takes Team Ninja's Souls-like adventure into an open-world setting, and that means you might be a little overwhelmed once you leave the tutorial. There is a ton of stuff in the regions around Hamamatsu, but we've created a list of 10 things to do first to get your adventure started on the right foot. The first tip is something you can start doing right away, before you're even finished the tutorial. Attacking costs energy, aka ki, but by pressing the right bumper just as you see the glow around your character, you can recover that ki in between attacks. This may be the most important combat mechanic in the game, at least for samurai style, so be sure to practice it. Not only does ki pulsing give you some energy back, but it also clears the yokai pools that enemies can leave scattered around. This comes in handy during every encounter, but especially when you're up against a boss. More on those later. Once you enter the open world, there are 2 side quests worth checking out: Insatiable Hunger and A Drop of Hope. These side quests will reward you with a samurai and ninja lock, which will let you add a skill point to their respective skill trees, but more importantly, they'll give you a small tour of the starting area, giving you incentive to explore some of the map while still having a general goal to accomplish. To start the first one, speak to the ghost outside of the village at the southern tip of the first zone, Tenryu River. This will lead you to your first enemy base, and ultimately send you facing off against a tall troll known as the Gaki Chief. Defeat him for a samurai lock. To start A Drop of Hope, you can speak to another ghost found at the northern bend of the Tenryu River area. This quest will send you into the nearby castle town, bringing you closer to your first main story objective. Tenryu River is also home to 4 Kodama, and you ought to collect them as soon as possible. We've marked them here on screen. For every Kodama you find, you'll spawn with an additional elixir at the game's shrines. Furthermore, you can go back to a shrine to activate Kodama Blessings, which can increase the elixir drop rate or bump up the amount of healing they give, among other perks. Kodama aren't the only magical creatures to track down. Chijiko like to float around like balloons, so anytime you hear the sound of chimes, start looking around. You can find one in the aforementioned river village here. Shoot them down, and they'll reveal their cuddly ferret form and give you a reward, usually another samurai or ninja lock, and a new special skill on one of the skill trees. Then there are Scampusses. These round cats like to be chased, and you'll know one is nearby when you hear them purring. Again, we've marked one on the map for you here. You'll have to chase each Scampus down, which usually involves a bit of platforming, but when the chase is over, they'll give you another reward, usually more locks. Once you start earning samurai and ninja locks, you'll want to spend them on skills for your 2 combat styles. We have a full guide on the 10 skills you should get here first at IGN, but for this video, there's one pair of samurai skills we want to recommend right off the bat: high and low stance. Your default mid stance is a balance of attack and defense. High stance lets you attack with more power, but at the cost of more stamina and less effective dodges. Low stance, on the other hand, increases your dodge capabilities and makes blocking cost a lot less ki. All 3 of these forms have their uses, and you ought to be flowing between them whenever you're fighting as a samurai. Plus, many weapon skills are only available once you have high and low stance, so make them a priority. Don't be afraid to engage with Revenants out there in the world. Whenever you see a red sword embedded in the ground, you can fight against a ghostly version of another Nioh 3 player who died nearby. You'll even see what gear they were using at the time. Win the fight, and some of the gear even becomes yours. Just mind the level of the Revenant to make sure it's not too far off from your own. If a Blood Edge demon has spawned in the world, Nioh 3 will tell you with an on-screen pop-up. When that happens, killing a Revenant will also point you in the direction of the demon. Blood Edge demons are incredibly difficult fights, but they are some of the best sources of high-value loot in the early game. They're well worth hunting down if you're up for the challenge. Speaking of Revenants and their gear, learning how to manage your own is another important part of the game. Like the open world itself, it's easy to get overwhelmed by all the exclamation points telling you about what you just picked up. As with the skill trees, we do have another full guide about gear management, but here are 2 quick tips to help you with yours in the early game. 1. Feel free to use the auto-equip option instead of scrolling through menus and comparing stats. 2. You can sell your unwanted loot for either experience points or gold. At shrines, press preparations and make an offering to give up your gear for XP, and potentially some extra elixirs if you're running low. If it's gold you're after, you can sell that stuff to one of the game's Sudamas instead. You'll spot your first one on the way to the game's first major crucible. After clearing the crucible, you'll be able to disassemble your gear at the blacksmith, so if you're able to wait until then, you will definitely get more of a return for your loot. On the other hand, it's so common that you can make that call based on what you need at the moment. Before you enter the first crucible, you'll also want to pray at some Jizo statues. These collectibles are sprinkled around each region. We've marked the first two in Tenryu River here. Praying at them earns merit that can be spent at the shrines. From the Jizo Blessing menu, you can give yourself some perks for taking on the game's challenging crucibles. For your first time inside, we recommend boosting your elixir's ability to heal life corrosion or increasing your melee attack power. And now for the crucible itself. Think of these as Nioh 3's main dungeons, and your first objective is to clear the one that's taken over Hamamatsu Castletown. It's the first looming threat you're going to have to face, and it's a culmination of everything we've taught you so far. Yokai are more powerful inside the Crucible, so be sure to keep on key pulsing like we said at the start. You don't want to get exhausted. Yokai also deal life corrosion damage in here, and that reduces your maximum health bar. Use your buffed elixirs to fix that, and know that if you die, returning to your grave to collect your spirit will automatically heal all of the corrosion at once. All of this leads to the game's first major boss battle against the Jikotsu Baba. We also have a separate strategy guide for her, but if you practiced all of these tips before taking her on, you'll be more prepared than most. If you do everything we've mentioned in this video so far, you'll already be increasing your area exploration rating for each individual zone on the map. At Exploration Level 2, you'll see the entire map of the area, which will give you a general idea of the areas of interest. Get it to Level 3, and exploration spots will be pinpointed on the map, giving you the exact locations of things like crucible spikes, lesser crucibles, and enemy bases. Max it out to Level 4, and you'll be able to see individual collectibles like the ones we mentioned earlier. Each level also gives you extra skill points and stat buffs. So whenever you cross into a new zone, make sure to do some general exploration within. Look for chests, clear out any enemy camps you see, and fight any field bosses you stumble upon. General exploration is rewarded handsomely, and it makes further exploration much easier in the future. All of these tips will give you a head start in seeing all that Nioh 3 has to offer. If you need some specific combat tips, or if you're looking to check out any of those other guides I mentioned here, then you already know you're in the right place. IGN.